All right, so now we're going to look at questions where we're asked to find values that would make a parallelogram. So part A, for what values of R and S is WXYZ a parallelogram? So the first thing to notice is that what we have going on in this quadrilateral, right now it's just a quadrilateral, it's a four-sided polygon. The sides are labeled. So we want to think, what do we know about sides in a parallelogram? We are asked to find values of R and S. So where are the R's and the S's? So I can see this side has an R and its opposite side has an R. So that would be pretty convenient to bring in something we know about opposite sides. The top side has an S and the bottom side has an S. So what do we know about opposite sides in a parallelogram? We know that if WXYZ is a parallelogram, then that means that the opposite sides would be congruent. So that's going to be our approach. We are going to take a look at the opposite sides and set them equal to each other. So if we take a look at, let's say, the R's first, so opposite sides would be congruent. So XW would be congruent to YZ. Those are opposite sides. XW is 4R plus 7. We can go ahead and set that equal to 7R plus 1. Let's solve for R. I'm going to subtract 4R, get those on the same side first. 7 equals 3R plus 1. Subtract 1, we have 6 equals 3R. If you divide both sides by 3, you're going to get R equal to 2. So what we're saying is if R is a 2, then this would be true up here, this equation, and we would have opposite sides congruent. So let's do the same thing for the other sides. If opposite sides, we want to show what values would make the opposite sides congruent. So we're going to let XY be congruent to WZ. So that's the top and the bottom. XY is S plus 5. Of course, they have to put the one variable and the number that it looks like. So be careful not to confuse your S's and 5's. We're going to set that equal to 2S minus 2. Solving for S's, I'm going to subtract S from both sides. Carry down 5 equals 2S minus S is a 1S minus 2. Go ahead and add 2 to both sides, and we get S equals 7. So let's take a look at our picture and see what we would get if we were to plug those values back in. So if R is a 2, right here, 4 times 2 is 8. 8 plus 7, that would give you 15. If R was a 2, 7 times 2 is 14, plus 1 is 15. So see how we're getting those opposite sides the same length. Well, if S is a 7, up here, 7 plus 5 is 12. And then if S is a 7, 2 times 7 is 14, minus 2 gives us 12. So you can see that when R is 2 and S is 7, that does give us opposite sides congruent. So to answer the question, if R equals 2 and S equals 7, then WXYZ is a parallelogram. All right. One more similar type of question, although here you can see that we are working with angle measures versus side lengths. So what values for A and B would make this a parallelogram? So again, let's see where the A and the B are so we kind of know how to approach this. We have, here's an A and here's an A. So I have A's in opposite angles. The B's I can see are in opposite angles as well. So what do we know about opposite angles in a parallelogram? Well, opposite angles are congruent. So we can say RSTU is a parallelogram if opposite angles are congruent. So let's show that. Let's show opposite angles congruent. All right, so opposite angles being congruent, that means that angle S would be congruent to angle U. So let's go ahead and fill that in. Angle S is 5A. We can set that equal to angle U, which is 3A plus 14. Solving for A, we will subtract 3A from both sides. So 2A equals 14. Divide both sides by 2 and you get A equals 7. The other pair of opposite angles that we have is angle R. R would be congruent to angle T. All right, so angle R is 4B plus 1. Let's set that equal to its opposite angle T, which is 3B plus 37. And let's solve for B. Get your b's on the same side first. I'm going to subtract 3b. I tend to add or subtract the smaller b value, so sometimes you'll see me getting b's on the left side of the equation, sometimes on the right. Just depends. 4b minus 3b is a 1b plus 1 is equal to 37. And then last step, we will get the b alone by subtracting 1. So b is equal to 36. All right, if we were to plug those values back in, to our, right now it's a quadrilateral, would the opposite sides be congruent? And they should be. That's kind of what we set up to equal, but let's just check. So angle S, 5 times A, so 5 times 7 gives us a 35-degree angle there. Down here, 3 times 7 is 21, plus 14 is also 35 degrees, so those opposite angles are congruent. And then if B is equal to 36, 4 times 36 plus 1 is 145 degrees. And then at angle T, 3 times 36 plus 37, when we do that math, we get 145 degrees. So we can see that opposite angles are congruent. So to answer the question, if, there we go, if A equals 7 and B equals 36, then RSTU is a parallelogram.